And now it's time for our first interview of the show. I was able to sit down with my good mate, one of the standout backs in the MLR over these last 3 seasons, played in the Premiership, played in Super Rugby, played for Australian Sevens. It's the one and only Billy Meakes. Billy, mate, welcome to The Rundown. Great to have you on the show and great to have you in person as well, mate.
Thanks, brother. It's good to be here. I jumped at the opportunity when you messaged me, so it's good to come down and see a familiar face and obviously just talk some rugby.
Yeah, how good, mate. And, one of the big things that always stood about me, Bill, is with you is I'd say you are probably in the history of the MLR, the player that was most in their prime, who came and didn't just come for like one season, maybe back, but has actually come for a sustained period of time and now pretty much live in America. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I suppose I haven't really put it like that to myself, but now that you say it, it does sort of resonate. I think, I've said this on podcasts before, but in my career, throughout my journey as a rugby player, I think I've always found the most growth when I've put myself out of my comfort zone. And that's exactly what coming to America was for me. The MLR was this foreign competition. I didn't know too much about it, but had sort of kept an eye on it loosely. And when the opportunity came up, it was exactly that. It was something completely different, out of my comfort zone, a new opportunity to challenge myself. And then when I got here, I just absolutely loved it. So, that's a big part of the reason I'm still here. Obviously, a big part of that is my fiancée, Michelle, is based here as well. So this year probably look a little different. We just found out Michelle's pregnant, so we're expecting our first.
Yeah. Congratulations, mate.
Little baby boy on the way, which
Daddy
is really,
Bill,
really exciting.
Mate. Here he is.
Yeah, I've loved my time in the MLR. It's been 3 seasons and, I don't see myself leaving anytime soon.
And, just reflecting on it, do you ever have any what-if moments if maybe you'd stayed in the professional game in other areas, or is it all systems go here now in America?
I think you always have moments. You see teams that you've played for in the past, whether it be the Premiership or the Super Rugby, and you miss elements of it, but that's something you have to live with and you have to back your decisions. That being said, the experiences that I've been exposed to here in America and playing in the MLR, you can't get them anywhere else. So it's a sort of a slight trade-off, but I wouldn't change anything. And as I said, the stuff that I've been able to do over the last 3 years, if you had told 15-year-old me running around with a football that I would be doing this, I would have told you there's no chance. So, yeah.
That's kind of what I say to people when they're like, oh, do you ever see yourself coming back? I'm like, bro, as long as I live in Southern California or wherever and in America and I make a living through rugby and get to enjoy myself, like how do you
I'm good. Yeah. I agree.
And what do you make of the growth of the MLR from the first year one where you got here until now?
Yeah, it's been an interesting one. I've tried to sort of keep a close eye on, the way people are receiving the game, and it's been pretty consistent in the sense that once people actually discover rugby or experience their first live game, they fall in love with it. It obviously has a lot of crossover between football and rugby. Maybe it's a little bit more intense. So I think that the love for it here is definitely there. It's probably just more about getting more eyeballs on the game. The MLR is doing a great job in trying to grow the game, and I think the potential here is endless. Obviously, with the World Cups coming up, based here, there's a huge opportunity to grow the game as much as possible and get as many eyeballs and really just put America on the map as a genuine place to come and play rugby professionally. And along with that, and probably before that, comes with the communities and the kids and high schools and colleges and trying to grow the game from the grassroots. And both teams that I've been involved in the MLR have focused really heavily on that, and it's paying dividends.
I agree. It's almost like, I always call it like Johnny Appleseeds of rugby. Like you've almost got all of these MLR teams spread out around the country and they've just got to plant these seeds, plant these little trees, grow them, nurse them, from young age, get them playing the game, get them indoctrinated into what the sport means. Don't try and maybe overtake other lanes of other sports, but just sort of put it in the landscape, let these trees go to fruition. And then long term, I think as you get to 2031 Home World Cup and the launch pad that gives us, a lot of these fruits will come to fruition.
100%. I couldn't agree more.
Spare all my analogies. I love a good analogy.
You nailed it.
And then when you look at the on-field rugby as well, like we talked a lot about how the league has grown, how much has the on-field product grown from when you got here to now as well?
Tremendous amount. Again, I've said this on other podcasts, but my biggest fear coming to the MLR from the Premiership was that I wasn't going to get better. And, I've said that quite openly. And that's not to be disrespectful to the league. That's just, it's probably viewed that different leagues are here and the MLR probably sits here. And I was kind of umming and ahhing around, am I going to get better as a player? And the answer is yes, I did. And, in part that was because I was surrounded by such amazing coaches and players in LA, and we were really, really lucky to have that group. But then again, in Chicago, I've had the same experience. I felt like I've got better, and the competition has got far and beyond better.
You just had to experience year one in a new team that on paper had a great squad on paper, but took a while to actually get the product up to speed to where it needed to be able to compete in this league. You saw at the end of the season you guys had it, but is that something that you would reflect on and maybe the picture of where this league has gotten to?
I think that's definitely a huge part of it for sure. I think, our situation in LA was relatively different to Chicago's setup, and I think a big part of that is the league has got a lot better. We were very lucky that we had a deep squad in LA, and we had players that could be outside the squad and be called in and sort of perform up to standard. But the season in Chicago this year was tremendously different. It was challenging. I've never been a part of a team that's only won a small handful of games, and you're trying to rock up to work on a Monday and stay motivated, and it came down to being more disciplined than motivated, because motivation was out the window. And, you're losing every weekend, but maybe you're losing by 2 points and you're like, oh my God, we could have won, but it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, that's another loss. And it was a really, really hard year. And I think, that old saying, you either win or you learn. And we did a lot of learning last year. And, a big part of me going back to Chicago again, is because I kind of feel like there's some unfinished business. And that's the kind of thing that motivates me as an individual. And I know, the rest of the guys that are coming back and the staff, they sort of have the same feeling.
As you're looking at Chicago on a whole, you just touched a little bit on the season and that you had, but what did you make of your time there? And what did you think of, you guys playing a good stadium, the final was there, lots of positive things I would say about, even though maybe the results weren't as great as everyone would have wanted.
Yeah, for sure. I think, if I had to sort of wrap it up as a whole, it was a really fulfilling experience. I think I learned a lot more this year than I have in previous years throughout my career, just because we were faced with so many challenges. Obviously, the way that I ended up at Chicago was through a team folding, and then that whole journey of trying to find a team and, okay, now we've got another new team. How's this going to work out? Who's going? Who's coaching? Where are we playing? Where are we living? All these questions are being asked. Okay, I'm 4.5 hours away from my fiance. Like all these little things, and then you just figure it out. You meet your new teammates. Great. Everyone's amazing. We're all working towards this common goal. Staff are amazing. And I think the year as a whole we just learnt so much. Honestly, I think this is the most excited I've been for a season in a long time, just because of all the unfinished business I feel like we need to sort out. The competition, again, is going to be a lot harder this year. So, that's another challenge for us. But if we're building from last year, all we got to do is just try and get more wins on the board and build towards a more successful season.
We've touched a lot on, in-season rugby that's been going on last season, looking ahead to next season. But one of the things maybe doesn't get touched enough is what does an off-season look like for an MLR player, especially maybe someone like yourself who doesn't go back home or also doesn't travel on maybe an international tour or something?
Yeah, I think for the 3 years that I've been here, it's been pretty different every year. For the first 2 years, I was fortunate enough to go and join the Australian Sevens group team. And that, again, was out of the blue, and it was the most amazing experience. I know we caught up over there. So I've been doing that. I think a lot of players go and play in other teams and different competitions. I was lucky enough to play Sevens, but this sort of most recent season, I've actually had a really good opportunity to just sort of wind down and spend some time in LA. My fiance Michelle is based there, and we've just been able to spend some really quality time together. And I think as I'm getting older, starting to sort of focus one eye towards what I'm going to be doing after I stop playing. So I've been sort of working on some things in the background that are really, really exciting. Probably not far enough down the line to reveal what they are yet, but just enjoying sort of life away from rugby and trying to plan some things so that when I do call time, that I'm ready to step into something else.
And then I guess, Bill, last question I'm going to ask you is, what are you hoping to get out of this season upcoming?
Obviously to be better than last year. I think on a personal note, selfishly, I kind of set goals for myself individually, and that is to be one of the best players in the league. And, I'm not shy about saying that, and I work incredibly hard to make that happen. But that's, again, my goal is to be one of the best players in the league. And, aside from that, as a team, I want to be successful. I truly believe that based on the experiences we had last year and the foundation that we've now built, we can be a successful team. And it will take a lot of hard work, and we're going to have to be really disciplined and work extremely hard. But I think Chicago can be an extremely successful team.
Awesome, bro. Thanks for coming on the pod.
Bro.
Appreciate it, mate. It's a pleasure. Good luck with everything.
Thanks, brother.
Good, mate.